Morning, good evening, good afternoon. It is Sunday, 7:15 a.m., Sunday the 8th, projecting for a view into Friday, October the 13th, and it's a little bit of a somber mood for where I am. I do have quite a few friends, family, and a lot of business contacts over in Israel, and things are pretty chaotic over there, to say in the nicest of words. So I'm not really gonna beat around today. Friday was epic, absolutely epic. With what's taking place over the weekend, it just kind of takes away any kind of celebratory mood for a theme or tonality as we go into this weekend update. So again, just to recap, I did throw out there late in the afternoon after we had that nice run on Friday that, okay, now it's a time where you could go ahead and sell calls, and you had a $2 credit, 67% return max on that. The few of you that took it, I appreciate it. I wasn't being rude or sarcastic about the other comments earlier, even though I am rude or sarcastic quite a bit, well, most of my life. But I had been beating it on the head and beating it on the head and beating it on the head that we were going to close green, which is above the 4285 area, which happened to be the safe zone, which actually I need to update that. This was broken and it was closed above. And what I do for me to note that so that I can keep track is I look at it like that. We did break above the plus 1% level. So again, something that I want to note, keep track of, breaking above 1% properly, closing above 1% properly. First time that's taken place since we had a plus 1% move and close above it back on August 29th, which was when QQQ went plus 2%. And QQQ went plus 2% there on Friday. Plus 2% on the highs of the day, having been minus 1% at the beginning of the day. Again, absolutely epic. And as Elon Gate has family, quite a lot of, over in Israel, I was on the phone for hours with him just a couple of minutes ago. And we both agreed when we did get into discussion about what we're doing here. Again, I'll just giving you a view here as to where my bearish view was. Our wave 3 topped back here in July. We got our A, we got our B, we got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's finished. It's complete. Come over onto your full moon. Your full moon is going to confirm that as well. Your full moon is in. So I'm going to stick with this chart here because this is going to help the view quite a bit. And I'll zoom out a little bit as well to help it out a little bit more. I'm looking here, okay? I'm looking here at December, where this dip that we had here in December was 4 red weeks in a row. With that fourth and third week, the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's, having been fractionally red. And again, over on the SPX, we did close green. I apologize, but I am going to update it while we are online here. This is going to be a green line going across the bottom to make sure that I know we closed green, and I will do my math. The close minus the open. We closed up 24 points on the week. That's all you need to get for that. The high of the week, 4308.50. Gonna have to remove that line on the bottom because I am very artsy about this. And the range for the week, again, highs of the week, 43.24, minus the lows of the week, which was 42.16. 107 point range week. 100-point range week the week prior, 149 points the week prior to that, only 65 points the week prior, and 83, 84 the first week of September. So very big to have seen a 107-point range week and getting a green close. I'm looking at this with last week's fourth red candle that ended there on September 29th, how it closed down 22 points on the week. It should have been a green week as we had that 43.33. But then we started getting that garbage coming out about the U.S. not doing a debt deal and everything got all political. So I'm looking at it again. I'll come back to that in a minute. But again, I'll point out here, you had a 100-point range on Friday, 104-point range. You have not had a 104-point range since back in March. And that was the fifth time this year that we've had it. 100 points here, 100 points back on March 15th, which was a bounce. 109 points where we came off of that 39.08, or we went down to that 39.08, I apologize. And we had a 100-point range up here back in the very beginning of February. This was the FOMC day here in February, where we topped out the very next day after that. So again, looking into this from a wide point of view into October, having had 2 red months in a row, I again will reiterate that we are going up for the month. So I bring you back here and I'll switch over onto the bearish chart. Here, where we had 4 red weeks in a row as we went into the end of the year. And immediately as the new year began, kaboom, we rallied all the way up there into February 1st. Okay, so July 3, February 1, 1 month. We just did this on October 6th, having our big bounce, having bottomed back on October the 3rd. Looking out 1 month, we're looking at a projection of being out there into the beginning of November, which is the FOMC meeting, and also the week when you get your major earnings coming from Apple. There is another name, I'm just not sure, because they schedule them differently now than they used to for many years, where all of them reported by the end of the month. So again, with my projection continuing to be, I am still looking for, I'll put you onto the Thanksgiving because that's the one I use. This is the primary gap that I'm looking for us to visit during the course of this week, the week of October 13th. This is 43.75, 44.02. I'm looking for us to visit this. I'm not going to go ahead and throw out my hat and say we're going to go to 44.34 this week, but I am looking for us to visit this gap this week up here at 43.75, 44.02. I'll bring you over onto the QQQ. Here it is. This is the same gap on the QQQ, which is already filled. QQQ already filled that gap there on Friday as we made that move up to 365. So again, with the QQQ, there are no gaps left until we get up there into that 376, 377, bring it into other terms. That's what we're looking at over here up at 44.98, 45.04. So my projection continues to be what it began at the beginning of the month, that I am looking for us to get into that 44.74, 44.44, or 44.70, 44.40 area right in here for the month of October. And the reason why I say that is because I don't want anybody taking what I'm saying and using it to be too aggressive, not understanding the amount of strength that you need to achieve it. This is where my target is. This is what my reality target is. It's up here at 4,500, 45.15, 45.40. I do see a very strong projection that we could be here at the end of the month, very beginning of November, up into this 4,500 area. Where I want the primary focus to continue to be is going to be that 4440, 4470. This week, it is that 4370, 4375 is the bottom of the gap. 4402 is the top of the gap. That's all I'm expecting to see during the course of this week as we start into earnings, as we head into OPEX, and as we start to crush the VIX. This being Friday, I will go ahead and put on my, yeah, I can start it over here because this is your oh, wait, what am I doing? You're doing it wrong, Tim. You're doing it wrong. This is the high of the day. And again, this is why we say on Fridays, you crush the VIX. And that's exactly what we got there on Friday, was a crush below 1811. Now, what we need to see on the VIX in order to support my view, which continues to be the SPX up at 4440, 4470 into the end of the year, is a visit, break, and close below 1622, and then start pressuring down into that lower 15, upper 14 area. We get into that, all you're doing is sitting back, relaxing, and letting price go as high as it's ready to go to until we start getting some overbought signals. One of the things I'm going to point out, which I pointed out there on Friday, and I'll bring it to everyone's attention that does spreads, is Meta. I'm looking here at a 20-day chart. And I was saying, because I have it right above NVIDIA, right next to Microsoft, right next to Apple, right below the ES and NQ futures. So I'm constantly looking at Meta. It's right in front of me on my main TV screen. It's impossible to get this thing to break down below 298. I mean, here's a 20-day chart. Here's a 90-day chart. Well, we're going back here to July. Yeah, you had your dip. Yeah, sure, back in August. This thing will not break down below 298. Now, I would not play this for earnings. No way in hell I would play this for earnings. But playing it on a weekly, if ever we do get that exceptional visit like we've had this week and prior weeks, where we are trolling around that 300 minus 300 area, this is phenomenal here, this 298. So keep that in mind with Meta. Buying calls, again, Meta, why would you go and pay the price for Meta when it's inside QQQ, which is your big daddy, your QQQ? 365.35 is where we got to. 367, 369. Once we get into 374, 373, there's no limit to eliminate us from getting up to 378 and again into 330 or 380, with the gap to be filled from August 1st up at 382.79. I would not go and be betting that this happens this month, but that is your upside targets as we start progressing higher and higher and higher as we go into the end of the year, into the beginning of next year. Yes, I did say that because, again, from the wide point of view on the SPX, we have just come to our wave 4. Whether you like seeing all the detail I have on my charts or not, it's not my problem. I'll zoom out a little bit more because this is your detail. We bottomed in October. We had our possibly a bearish view. That's what this chart is. We had our B, our massive blow off. Could be C. However, this works out much better to be the 1, 2, 3, this being 4, and now we are starting to progress upwards into 5. So what I want you to, where am I looking here? Thanksgiving, where's Thanksgiving? Here it is. What we're looking for on this is, again, gap, gap, big gap, unfilled gap, untouched gap. Eventually, into the end of the year, start of next year, I am expecting that we will have filled this gap 46.37, 46.63, and I do believe that we will be pressuring on to 48.80. 48.80 from 42.16 would be a 600-point run, which would be much shorter than what Wave 3 is and would be almost equal to, I'll bring you back to the bear, zoom you out again. This was a 609-point run, Wave 1. 609 points off of 42.12 or 42.16. We're in the 4800s. So, yes, I can see this being an identical 600-point run to the upside. So, that's where we're looking for from a wide point of view. For the course of this week, like I say, 370, I would expect that QQQ pressures. I don't believe that we're going to break it, but I do believe that we will pressure onto 370. On the FB, the VIX, I am expecting we are going to see pressure onto 1622, and I would be expecting as the week gets older and older and older into Friday, with the VIX crush on Friday, that we are going to be seeing a close later in the week below 1622. Over here on the SPX and SPY, where are you? There you are. Again, I'm expecting that we'll be seeing some pressure on 43.75, 44.02. Load some studies up here. Your 50-day moving average is up at 44.23. So 20-day moving average right here where your resistance area is around 43.50. Very clear, obvious place for a stall. Good place for this first wave up to be kind of getting a little overbought. Then we could see a little bit of a dip down to the low 4300s, maybe even below 4300, and then get the energy and effort with earnings coming out, with OPEX, with the end of the month, with FOMC to be able to rally up through that 44.24, 44.34, 44.74. So again, it has been a wild ride selling put spreads. It had been an absolutely amazing ride trading calls. I mean, look at it. The one day just there on Friday. No, insane. So these are your 360 calls on the QQQ. 30 cents, 40 cents. Imad got in at 17 cents. $5.82. So that's where we are. That's where we're going. Again, like I said, everybody in one way, shape, or form is going to be connected to what's happening over there in Israel. And I'd appreciate very much if, while all of us have opinions and comments and everything else, let's keep the option chat room clean of this, because this is really like, human beings shouldn't have to see this, let alone live through it. So have a good weekend, have a good afternoon, enjoy your football if that's what you're going to be doing. I will be awake when futures open up, and I'll catch you guys later on.